Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this month's BidVantage webinar. It should be an absolute cracker today. I am pleased, as always, to be joined by Rob. Good morning, Rob.
Hello. Good morning.
And our special guest today is Matthias Hauskamp, and I hope I've got that right, Matthias. I took instruction from your team last night on how to pronounce it.
Very good pronunciation.
Okay, excellent, fantastic.
Great to be here.
Thank you. So I think everybody knows myself and Rob. There's a little bit of information about us there. As I said, we're very grateful that Matthias has joined us today. Just a little bit of background. So he is an entrepreneur with a particular interest in making processes more efficient through data and smart software. And that's the reason why he is here today to talk to us about the Altura platform and AI in general. So without further ado, let's just move on to the agenda for today. We've broken this up into 4 parts. So we're just going to do a little general AI update because things are moving quite quickly. And I think it'd just be useful for everyone to kind of know where we're at right now. Then we'll talk about BidVantage and Altura. And we have a partnership between us that's very new and very exciting. And the third thing that we'll talk through is actually Altura bid management platform. And Matthias is going to present a few slides and do a demo. So hopefully that all goes according to plan. And then finally, we'll just talk about one of the things that we've realized over the last couple of months working with Altura and also our current setup is that I think where we're at now is a 24/7 bid team, which on the one hand sounds quite soul destroying that we'd all have to work 24/7, but it isn't. And I think that will be a really useful insight for people. So the first thing, Rob, and I'm going to hand over to you to start this one because, as everybody knows, along with elections, your second passion in life is clearly AI, and you have lots and lots of fun in investigating all of the different systems. So do you want to lead us off on this one? And Matthias, feel free to jump in here, give us your views on anything you want to.
I always feel very self-conscious doing this when there's an actual expert with us. Thank God we didn't do a politics one with a politician. That would have been true. So it just a few bits and bobs. I mean, if you know anything about AI, then you'll know a lot of this already. If you don't, you may have been living under a rock, but who knows. But ChatGPT had a big update. I think it was last month, although time goes quite quickly. So they released their new model, which is ChatGPT 4.0 or 4.0, either or. So that's been quite a big update. I've had mixed success with it, and I know a lot of other people have as well. But the big things that happened with that is it's got multimodal capabilities. So it will take text, image, or voice input and make something out of it for what you've asked for. Just on the voice, you may have seen the controversy about them using a mimic of Scarlett Johansson's voice, which I don't know if that went to trial or what happened in the end, but they took it down. So that was quite interesting. I think they've got 4 voices on there at the moment too, in various ways, which is quite interesting. I think I had it read me a bedtime story once, and it was truly awful. But anyway,
What was the story, Rob?
Oh, I can't remember. I was just testing it out at the time. It was like, just tell me a bedtime story, and it was like, I think it thought I was 5 years old. So it wasn't anyway. A bit of a sidetrack there.
I think people really like the conversational mode, right? That they're able to really interact with this AI in a more natural way, and I definitely see that's where more of these tools, the direction that they're taking. How can we make this more as a real human to human interaction?
But yeah, it is good. I mean, you see a lot of news stories about whether it's good or bad. I think that's the wrong. I think a lot of news stories about AI are framed in the wrong way. They're sensationalist. They talk a lot about the negative elements, even around this kind of human-to-human interaction style, about whether that's good for people with social isolation or whether people will get hooked on it. Or, it reminds me of discussions about video games back in the day, to a similar way. Anyway, back to what ChatGPT has. I think it says a 25,000 word context window, which is absolutely massive. Now, what it deals with in that context window is another matter, But I think the old models, probably last year, were like 2,000 words or tokens, as they call them. Apparently, the new model has enhanced creativity and problem solving. Mixed results on that versus ChatGPT-4, I must admit. A better understanding of language and much better data analysis. Now, data analysis isn't something I do much of. Matt, that's probably something you'll want to have a play around with at some point.
Yep.
But it's an interesting step forward. I think everyone's keen to see what ChatGPT-5 will be. And I won't delve into rumors on that or when it will be released, but there's a lot of speculation around that. I think a lot of people are hoping that will be the game changer. But I have had a lot of fun playing around with another platform, which is Claude, which I have talked about before. They released 3.5 of their model. I think it was either last week or the week before. I played around with it for some creative writing, mainly around some stories, and I've been quite impressed with it, to be honest. It's been very interesting. It's got good visual capabilities as well, but apparently kind of telling people what's in a picture or translating notes. Apparently it's quite good at coding. It's got good knowledge and reasoning levels as well, up to graduate level. I haven't played around with that too much, but purely from a creative writing point of view, giving it very little input, it came out with some very interesting stuff. So Claude's very interesting. That kind of the main ChatGPT competitor, but also looking at it goes about things in a slightly different way. But I do enjoy Claude. The other thing, just to talk about, and I've only seen a few demos of it, and I've tried a couple of them, but is the whole AI video generation at the moment. Now that's quite interesting. It's quite rudimentary at the moment. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I think Sora from OpenAI, the ChatGPT developers, is the interesting one. I've only seen demos of that, but some of what it's developed has been very, very interesting. And I wonder, in our world and the general business world, are people just going to end up creating advertising videos using platforms like this going forward? How sophisticated they're going to be is another matter. But if people are interested, there are some free platforms out there with some varying degrees of results from that as well.
There's a lot of play around it right now, and I'm very curious if it gets to a stage where the output is very good. We can see this more in the entertainment world, creating like grade A movies, creating your own stories, huh? Like you said, Robert. I asked 4.0 to tell me a story. Oh, how about it can create a movie, a sequel to The Godfather, for example. I think that's some very
it would
curious.
Be really interesting to see, wouldn't it? And I also hear the other side of things, particularly we had there's a lot of discussion around AI art, which came out mainly last year, about artists and script writers and everyone potentially being out of work through this. I don't think it's anywhere near that sophistication at the moment, and it's going to take a long time to get there if it does. Probably more pertinent to our world is regulation. And again, unless you've been living under a rock, there is a UK general election this week. No, not this week, next week. Within a week, next Thursday. It's my time zones. I'm all over the place. Labour are going to win. I can quite happily say that now after trying to hedge my bets a little bit. Labour are going to win. And I was just delving into a little bit around their thoughts around AI from their manifestos, but also snippets of what they've said, because there has been a lot of talk around regulation, but I think our current government hasn't had a real priority on doing anything beyond trying to get to the election. So Labour have talked about having more regulations on the development of AI models. That's quite ambiguous as to what that might be. They've talked about establishing a regulatory innovation office, which would also have AI under their purview. The interesting one I saw is that it's talked about mandating AI firms to share their test data with government officials. Now, I'm not sure how that would go down or how that would work. But obviously talked about harmful AI and cracking down on that, which I think we can all agree on is a good thing. Now, Labour has obviously got strong trade union links, so there's also an element of them talking to trade unions and employers about how AI can be integrated, how that works with potential job losses or job creation for that matter as well, and trying to have I suppose a phased approach around that. So quite interesting. And Labour's also talked about bringing AI into things like the NHS a lot more, and using it in the right way. And that's more general AI rather than obviously generative AI. So I think I know I've gone on a little bit there, longer than I expected to. It's really interesting. I think, where's this going to go? Where are we going to see things by the end of 2024? As Matt, we would have been sat here 2 years ago. ChatGPT wasn't on our radar, wasn't talked about. Generative AI wasn't talked about. None of this, it's just exploded in the last 2 years. So, it seems to move at quite a pace. And what's that going to mean for us? In the bid world, what's it going to mean for procurement, and just generally? I mean, I think that for me, the big thing will be to see where ChatGPT 5 goes, if that's released before the end of the year, and what those capabilities will. And I focus on ChatGPT because that's the one that most people know and will use, and they'll see that as the big push forward. Obviously, there's a lot more specialist software and applications out there, but they aren't really in the public's frame of mind. So, yeah, we'll see how things go. I'll pass it to the floor for your thoughts.
I think it's really interesting, and I know we spoke about this, and Matthias has just brought it up again in terms of that human-to-human interaction. And we were talking about this yesterday, in that those kind of out-of-work situations, people seem to be far more engaged with their AI in their personal lives. Lots of wearable tech and things that are integrated with that, and people just embrace that like it's it's a new toy to play with, and people really get on board with it. And what we were kind of talking through yesterday was the hesitancy in the business world to adapt AI as we do in our personal lives. And that was a really interesting thing to talk through. And clearly there's a lot more risk in adapting it for business, and certainly
data is a big worry as well, isn't it? Of course.
Yeah, but it's an interesting sort of dynamic to keep an eye on. It's just how things evolve personally, and then how they evolve within our working world. But we're going to talk through all this through the session, so I won't get too much into it. But Matthias, is there anything else that you just want to sort of throw into the mix on this one before we move on?
Well, what I'm also very curious about is how will these regulations influence all of the innovation that we'll see? I already see a lot of startups moving to the US, people moving to the US to build their AI startup there. Where I see in Europe, we're very much very risk averse. We want to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Whereas in the US, and especially in China, they're just like, okay, go and see how far we can get. So I'm very curious about how that political element will change the dynamic of AI capabilities and tech performance of these countries. As we in the Netherlands and in the UK, we have so much more regulations to look into and to be part of, instead of a US company, and definitely a Chinese company.
Yeah, for sure. And Rob, just on your point on the NHS, it's just come back to me from when we were talking earlier this morning. We saw that notice for a tender for AI-driven ECG. So, that's the first one that we've seen. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on that. And if there's anything useful we can feed back to people, we will do. Just because we don't want to take up too much time from Matthias and the demo and the slides, I think we'll just move on there quickly. Just talk about the partnership that BidVantage and Altura have in place now. I'll be very quick on this. For me, it was really easy when we first spoke to Altura around why we would want to work with them. And as we got to know them more through Heather, through Tel, through Matthias, I think we've got a shared philosophy between the two businesses. Our services clearly complement each other in terms of the efficiencies and the additional capacity that AI brings, along with the human element of our services. And that creates a really flexible and responsive solution for our clients, and gives us a much broader range of things that we can do in terms of supporting our clients. And of course, the real thing for us is that continuous learning. And even over the last couple of months, we've learned so much just in terms of AI, how things work, and all the guys at Altura have been great. So I think for me, it's really simple. It's a great fit. We're really excited about some of the services that Altura bring. But the thing for me that really interested me, and I think this is the big differentiator in AI bid software at the moment, is pretty much all of the ones we've looked at are purely focused on content creation, whereas Altura has all of the capabilities to support the bid management and process side. And as you will have heard on many webinars and different shows that we do, I generally focus on the bid management side and Rob focuses on the writing side. So for me, this was the first platform I've seen that really got me excited around what I do. And I think this is the first integrated bid platform that I've seen. So I think it's a really exciting space to be in. Matthias, is there anything that you just want to comment on around the partnership?
Well, what I find very interesting also about the shared philosophy and how you guys approach. I've been working in bid management for 5 years now. I came across bid management, and it's always been, bid management is complex. It is complex on how to approach it. It touches upon everything else in the organization, not only the commercial organization, but everything in the organization. And just that you guys are doing these webinars and really diving into and looking at bid management from a broader perspective is something that really excites us as well in Altura. And that continuous learning is also something that's very necessary to be able to deliver quality, because it's so complex and it's very different at every different organization. You really need to be able to understand the challenges that bid managers have to be able to help them. And that's what really excites me about not only the partnership, but bid management as a whole. It is just so challenging, exciting. And yes, AI is going to change a lot of things, but it's not only about writing that proposal, right? It's stakeholder management. It's solution thinking. It's innovating the company as a whole. Bid management for me is a starting point for everything within an organization. And I think that's just a great thing to be working on.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I've never heard your profession, Matt, described in such a positive way before.
I was trained.
It's really interesting though, because I think one of the great things about putting a bid together is that it's almost looking in the mirror at your own company. So when you're putting all this stuff down on a page, you kind of realize where the cracks in the mirror are and you know what it looks like to other people. So I think, Matthias, that's a great example you've just given there of how the whole company looks to the outside world. Okay, I think we're just going to move on to Altura now. So Matthias, I'm going to hand over to you. Just give me a shout when you want the slides moved on, and of course you're going to do a quick demo as well. So it's all over to you now.
Yeah, thanks. So yes, I'm going to tell a bit about what we focus on Altura, and also definitely will do a short demo to see to show everyone what it looks like. So if we go to the next slide, I think these are in general the 5 challenges we have seen across all these different companies in all these different sectors is what they are struggling with most. And what I think is most important to really solve these problems is to look at it as a full cycle perspective. So to be able to learn data is created but not really used, you should be able to capture everything. So it already starts with capture management. It drills all the way down from qualifying an opportunity to planning everything around that bit to in the end writing it, and eventually of course learning from every data that is created. So in the demo, I will definitely dive into these 5 specific things on how we are solving these problems. But for a capture management, I think that is the starting point for everyone in the bid organization, is what are those opportunities for us to go after? And this is also very much collaboration with sales. I often hear in organization that there is a bit of a friction between sales and bid management. Sales is like, we don't know what's coming. And if there is opportunity, they're always like, let's go. This is the golden opportunity. This is the bid that we want to win. Where, of course, from a bid management perspective, it's more of an analytical approach. It's more of qualifying opportunity. And it goes from, hey, what is this? What's actually asked for in this bid? What's in the documents? What kind of legal restrictions, what financial risks are in there, but it's also very much about the relationship we have with this prospect. Do they already know our name? Do they already have they already talked to us before? Have we influenced their RFP or their tender to fit our services or products? So having a good forecast and collaborating with sales is very much around making sure that you do not miss an opportunity. Not missing opportunity is a lot of work, because opportunities can come from left and right. It can be published on a lot of different platforms. That's something we've been really focusing on. That was actually the first thing that we solved in Altura, is collecting all that data, doing that fully automated, and really also getting the documents, because it's nice to have just a title and description of what the opportunity is about, but you really need to dive into those documents. And of course, that's collaboration with sales. Then if you have found this opportunity, there is often, like I already mentioned, more of an open discussion, like, should we go for it? Yeah, we should go for it. There's a 5 million, that's 20% of my year target, go bid management. And what we see with customers who are being successful is the customers that say no, that are not doing 100 bids and are winning 20, but there are those that say, no, we only do this 80, but we win 30. So doing less and doing the ones that they doing it very well. So that's the second thing, qualifying opportunity. The whole stakeholder management around it. Are we aligned on if it's a good opportunity or not? And how can we have a discussion around data, another discussion about feelings? And that's something that we solve with the bid qualification. Then, of course, the big thing, once we've decided to go for an opportunity, that's when the chaos often starts. What we see with our clients is, I have a lot of different stakeholders internally. I have a lot of different steps. There needs to be, we have to ask questions to the supplier. We have to communicate internally. This is often a process that is quite similar every time, especially for similar opportunities, same size, same markets that we go for, but it's always a manual exercise. So it is often data is scattered throughout Excel files. There are checklists being filled in, there are emails being sent, and just getting this project management out is filled with manual tasks. And that's something that we set out to automate. Then finally, reinventing the wheel. I think reinventing the wheel, if we are an organization that does a lot of bids, we have seen it. We've seen it all in the past year, and we've also seen a lot of won and lost bids. So what we found out is that a lot of our clients are working in a Teams environment, often in a SharePoint or a Google Drive, and all of this previous data, those award decisions, but also the actual proposals, are scattered. So there is not really a proper access to this knowledge. And what we've set out to do there is we wanted to, using AI, to really find content within that big bucket of proposals. But finding content, only the content is not relevant. You need to have the data connected to it. You want to be able to filter proposals, for example, past proposals, based on whether you won or lost with them, or whether it was a bid for a hospital or for a school, the sector, depending on your own work. So connecting that data, and this is again really important for our thesis around full cycle. If you don't know which opportunity you have been running for, if you don't know who worked on that opportunity, if you don't know whether you won or lost a bid, if you don't have all that data in a central hub, which is Altura, you are not able to leverage those insights to find the right knowledge internally. Then of course bit writing is also AI, right? AI generative AI, and that's another specific AI tool that we've been creating, is to be able to use those past proposals, but also use your own strategy. Writing a proposal is strategizing. It is 80% strategizing and 20% writing. And in that writing, there's also a lot of rewriting, which is also strategizing. So we really looked over the past year at how do all these different types of bid managers really write, and how can we create a tool that enables this bid manager, this bid writer, this proposal manager to write better. We don't want to we want to enable the bid writer and not take him out of the equation completely. So that's the fourth challenge that we've seen, being able to write quick, to be able to leverage data from the past. And finally, which I think is also, we're seeing new use cases popping up here every day, is what can we learn from this data? Which team member is best equipped to focus for a specific sector? Or why weren't we able to bid on those 5 tenders last year, those 5 opportunities last year? Oh, because we don't have this certification, or our truck is not big enough, or etc., etc., etc. And we really enable our customers to log data as they progress through the process automatically. If you reject a reason, reject an opportunity, you give a reason as to why. And now we're able to show these companies as, hey, your win rate is 40%. You rejected 5 opportunities with a total value of 20 million. So you have lost 8 million in potential revenue. This investment that needs to be made is 500K. Hey, this is a good conversation to go to your CFO. And this is also very much our vision for bid management. Bid management, as I already said, is almost a central hub to the organization. Central hub in the sense that they need to collaborate with everyone in the organization, but also it is the only place in our organization where all of this data creation comes together. So if you are able to go to your CFO or go to your operations team and be able to give them this valuable knowledge, you are not only positioning yourself as support to the commercial function, no, you're creating this data powerhouse. And I think that's something, at least very in the Dutch market, what we've seen is that bid management has always been more of this supportive role to sales. That has been changing for the last 5 years. That is changing. It's getting a more prevalent position within the commercial organization, and I think that's something that we are also boosting with our software, and specifically with using data. Then if we go to the next slide, we will see what needs to happen. I think I already gave a bit away, but it is for us really this full cycle, right? We want to support the entire bid management process. But what is also very, very, very important is, even on a high over, you can see the high over process in this visualization, but it is completely different for every organization. If you build bridges versus selling laptops, it is a completely different process. It's a completely different proposal. So what we've really set out to do, Altura, from the beginning is high customization. So basically, our software, construction companies use our software and IT companies use our software, and they are really able to support that entire process. We want to get away from these point solutions that only do one specific things, because the value is in doing everything in one place, because then you can really start creating data. And this data philosophy was always there, but then with the boom of AI, we came to the conclusion, this is where we can really create a difference. Because if you go into ChatGPT and ask, hey, can you write me a piece of content about how we do sustainability? It will create a nice piece of content about sustainability. But ChatGPT does not know that you have a smart routing system that allows your truck to drive 20% quicker routes, or it doesn't know that we have been using trucks without gasoline, for example. If you have access to that contextual data, yes, you can then use this large language model in a way more specific way. So that's more around the full cycle and the contextual data part. And these are our standpoints on these specific solutions. We want to put capture management central in the commercial strategy, so everybody knows what's coming, every visibility, structured way of working. Qualifications are a combination of this discussion. Everybody can give their input, but those inputs are then translated into really data points. Bid planning, I just feel there's a lot of manual tasks that are always done the same way, which can just be automated with software. That's something what we do. Knowledge, scaling knowledge is important. So centrally available in the organization. And of course, again, that data is leveraged for strategic advantage, going beyond bid management even. Then if you go to the next slide, here we have our amazing Power Rangers team. If we go to the next slide, this is something that we see, right? You're wearing a lot of different hats, or in this case, helmets, to really. We have to. There are big teams. There are teams where we have specific roles. People doing bid writing, someone maybe doing data analytics in really big teams. But as a bid manager, you're wearing all these different hats. And what we're trying to do with Altura is we want to create a 24/7 available online bid management power team. Then if we go to the next slide. So AI, we've created 4 specific tools in AI realm. So proposal writer, creating proposals using AI and using your contextual data. Document chat, being able to ask questions to documents. We're continuously shifting through documents to find information. How nice is it if you can just ask a question to the document and the document answers you? Then an expansion of that document chat is the custom summarization, or as I would like to, as I often call it as well internally, is the document analysis. Basically turning documents into insights for the legal team who wants to have all of the financial risks, or for the operations teams who just wants to find out what they have to do. So turning hundreds and hundreds of pages in mere minutes into a summary of all the important criteria and important information. And then finally, proposal search. So using AI that understands your question, understands what you're looking for, and also the metadata connected to the proposal. When did we submit this bid? Did we win or lose with the proposal? What kind of sector was it for? Who was working on it? To really find snippets of text really quick. If you go to the next slide. So again, that's the entire process. I think we've covered this already. So I think it's time for a short demo. I've created a demo environment where I can take everyone along the entire process. I will highlight a few specific things, and of course, happy to answer any questions. Then it's just me who's going to share his screen.
Let's see if we have practiced this, so let's see if it works out on a live environment.
Exactly.
A nice smooth transition. I think whilst you're getting that on the screen, Matthijs, what occurred to me then was the really kind of interesting thing around how data helps performance. And we always liken bidding to a competitive sporting environment, in the fact that you have to train. If you want to be at the elite end of a sport, you've got to understand all the different components that go into elite performance. And it just took my mind back to when I first started playing rugby in the 1980s and 90s. And back in those days, it was amateur, and a lot of people still drank a lot of beer, smoked a lot of fags before a game and after a game. There wasn't necessarily all of the kind of components that went into performance. Look at rugby now, and pretty much every professional rugby player is in the world where they understand recovery better. They've got performance data, they've got blood work, they've got nutrition, and you look at the performance games, and it's just obvious that by having data available, performance increases massively. So it looks like we've done a pretty good transition there, Matthias. So I will hand back to you now and let you get on with the demo.
Yeah, thanks. So here we are in the dashboard of Altura. Here you can see most of the highlights of everything that's relevant to you as a user. This is all specific for me as a user. It's really important that bid management involves a lot of people, so you should really be able to have the right access to the right things. So that's why you as a manager can really decide who can see what and can take what actions where. So this is custom to me. And I'm also responsible for the opportunity tracking. I see this. I see that I still have 28 open opportunities. If I go into these opportunities, I can see that I have 24 opportunities in our corporate list and 1 in the education list. And what we do here is we look at all of those opportunities which are published around all these different platforms. In every country there are multiple, and in some countries there are a lot. What our system does, it every 6 hours our tooling goes onto these platforms, looks at all of the publications, retrieves those publications with all the underlying data and all the underlying documents, then looks at our database if it's a already existing opportunity, and it then either creates a new opportunity or it updates the already existing opportunity. So that allows us to always have the data up to date here, but also have all of the documents available. So if I go into this first opportunity, I then have all of the information what is relevant here on this one page. I can see all of the main information. I can see all of the files. I can even see possible competitors based on previous wins. I can see related tenders in the database. This is the first information that I need to have to see if this is relevant or not. But as we already mentioned before, it goes deeper than just this information. We need to dive into the documents. So that allows me, by doing the chatbot, I can ask a question and it will then answer that question based off the document I've selected. But I can also do it as a whole on all of the documents and enrich it with an AI summary. This is something you as a user can create for yourself. So we see that specific users ask different questions. As again, legal wants to see different things here, and you can also export these findings and share it internally, of course. Let's say this is an opportunity that is very relevant to me. I can then approve it. If it's not, I can reject. If I'm approve or reject the opportunity, I remove it from my to-do list. And of course, every day I want to get that list to 0. If I reject it, I also have to give a reason for rejection, which is then again feeding into my analysis. What I also found very interesting, not expecting when we launched this feature, is that a lot of our bid managers were like, "Oh, finally, I can show my manager how many opportunities I go through every day." They often hear, "Well, we've only bid on so many tenders." Yeah, but I have to go through 10 times as much to find those tenders, to those opportunities to go for. So approving opportunity, I can add it to a project board. I can then go to the project, and here we do a lot of automations. Because you already see, I open this this project, I can already see all these tasks that are being made. I can see a planning being added. So what Altura does here for this bid planning is you are able to create workflows. And in workflows, you can basically automate everything in here based on where an opportunity in the overview is. So here I have these steps in this overview. If a project is created, I have created a workflow where these 5 tasks are added and also assigned to the right people with the right deadline. And I can then see those tasks assigned to me in my task overview. There are a lot more things to automate, like planning, like standard documents. There are often templates that needs to be filled. If I move a project through the process, different automations will be kicked off, which you can really nicely see here in this workflow editor. Planning items are added, custom fields are created, tasks are created, standard documents are added. Everything happens fully automated here. Then, this is the place where we, as a bid manager, are working on a specific project. Of course, we need to have that overview of information. How are we tracking on task? Is anything overdue or overdue? What's our planning? We add all of these planning items from if we connected a public tender, we also pull in all the planning items from the publication source, but I can also add my own deadline in there. And of course, can also export this to my calendar. Then, of course, we have all of these documents, the project documents that you can add in yourself, the tender documents that we pull in from the public source. And again, here we also have this chatbot. Then finally, about information, we have this information tab where we can create custom fields. And I think this is really important as well, because in bid management, it's all about information management, sharing, getting this checklist, getting these approvals, and also very much being able to share contract data when you hand it over. So here we have a lot of different field types. We can have checkboxes, we can have a numeric field, we can have tables where we can add rows and risk and everything that we need to report on or have in this connected to this project can be put in here. And this is also customizable to the fullest. Then there are 2 more parts to the whole project page. I think the tooling. There are a lot of different toolings that can be added to Altura. For example, the way to an evaluation tool to evaluate your bids. We've even created a product matcher tool for companies in the food industry that have to change their. Let's not go into there. A main specific tool is the qualification tool. The qualification tool helps to structure these conversations into data. So I'm able to add a qualification template, something that I have created on a company level. Almost every company has this kind of qualification, often in Excel sheets. And you're basically able to build that entire qualification within Altura itself. This is a very simplistic one with multiple choice questions, but you can also do, you can basically do anything. You can change the skill, you can do yes/no questions, you can have open answers, you can have custom fields connected in here, but also the weight of each category and the weight of each questions and answers are something that you can define. If I would click through this, I would then generate a report. And this is a report of all of the information that was put in here, all of the answers that we gave. And this is also then an opportunity to approve or reject the qualification. I can download it, but I can also invite to make a decision. So if I, for example, want my manager to make a decision, this is open discussion. I had people from sales fill in the sales category. I had people from operations fill in the operations category. So all of the information came together into this one discussion. But then I want my manager to make a decision. He or she can then make a decision. We go back to the we can go back to the overview, and here you see it's approved while we're in proposal writing phase, and John Doe made the decision. But we can also initiate a new qualification. And what we see with mature bid organization is that they don't always not only use this qualification to qualify whether they should bid or not, they will do that multiple steps in the process, but they also use it to check strategy, to get information from sales to see what kind of solution should we go for. So it's a way to qualify not only opportunities, but also qualify strategy and our how to move forward. That's a qualification tool to really help pull all of this information together. Then I think finally is the proposal writer. We have a proposal component here, basically a question that needs to be answered. And we start with a blank canvas, and we want to get from that blank canvas to a first version of the text. We do that with two tools. We have the ideation tool, and we have the AI writing tools. I'll first show the ideation tool. The ideation tool is basically to create a first draft of the proposal. This is, of course, is all dummy data because we don't share proposals of our customers. So I'm able to write a paragraph, and it will then generate snippets of content. You can see this is content generated from a specific proposal. I can, of course, click on that link and see which proposal it comes from. But I can also just use our creative AI, our large language model, which creates content based on your own contextual data set, but it does not look at all proposal, just only at all proposals. So I'm able to select all the content that I like to put in this first paragraph. I can also then really add my own ideas, my own strategy. Again, writing is strategizing. So I have an idea. Maybe there's an idea from sales on how to properly answer the question, write the proposal. I can add it in here, and based on that, I can generate a paragraph. You still see the content that was used, and very quickly we go from a blank page to a first draft created. And of course, this content is all very specific to your company. It is not something, if you go into ChatGPT, is a general answer. No, it really looks at your own specific content. But of course, this is just the beginning. So that's why we want to start rewriting it. And we, again, use a lot of contextual data here as well, because you are able to use context, the method of assessment, your own answering strategy as a whole for this standard, which you can all add in the settings here. But also the sub-criteria for awarding, the guideline that was provided by the contracting authority. So we have a bunch of different tools here. You can rewrite, you can substantiate, you can basically insert new content. I can then also go into the proposal search and insert specific content from all proposals. I can shorten it, or I can go into these proposal blocks. I can find specific old proposals using search or using filters. And I can then just use an answer, and I can generate options based on that specific snippet text from an old proposal compared to the one that we are working on right now. Can save it, and another person can start working on it. And when I have all those snippets ready, I can copy paste it into my final proposal design. One other thing I want to highlight is in this customizable setup that we created with Altura, you can also work in specific boards. And these specific boards, what board you're in, will change everything again. It will give you different steps in the process. It will give you different workflows that you're able to do. So this allows our users to work in different workflows. For example, if a tender is above or below that 1 million threshold, or there is a board where sales works in, and the forecast where a opportunity is already qualified, is already has a strategy, and I can then move this project to the bid management project board whenever that opportunity is published. What we also see is that our clients use this to do a handover to operations, as all of that information that we've created throughout is in here. This will easily allow the people from contract to draft, to do their work more easily, and also the collaboration between those teams have it more smoothly. So this is, if we look at projects, I think some other relevant information is that we basically scraped all of the information, or we collected. We have one-way connections built with all of these different platforms. I think at this point there are in total of 18 platforms that we collect from European to UK to European organizations, and that allows us to really have an overview of every tender that is in the database. All of these contracting authorities, so we can go in everything that these contracting authorities have published. And something I won't, looking at the time, won't go into too deep, is that is also, you have all of this data in Altura from your own usage, what projects that we work on, who worked on those projects, what were the results, what proposals, what information. But we also we know from every past tender who has won the tender, for what amount, what the contract dates are. So it's a gold mine to build your forecast. So there are a lot of different ways to also look at this database by using Analyze to really build your own graphs, to build your own dashboards of basically any information that's in our database you can use to build those graphs, and we do it for you. We often get a lot of different questions from a lot of different people internally. We want to know what are the top 5 clients of our biggest competitor, or why are we losing? What's the main feedback we're getting? Since it's all in there, we create a graph and you get the insights. And then finally, I think the Knowledge Hub, we have a document fold with all of your documents that you're using beyond just one project. So your certifications, your reference projects, it's all in here. You can add a date until when it's valid. We will alert you when it's not valid anymore. And also you are able to connect it to this project. So when you update a file, you will also update it on the project. And then finally, the proposal search. So here are all our proposals in with all of the metadata. And I can easily say what are those criteria that were relevant for this proposal. I want to filter it down. What was our performance? What's the percentage of overall points that we score? But for example, also, I don't want any proposal that's too old. So I want to filter back to maybe a year and a half. And then if I go into, I filtered it back from, was it 250 proposals to 25 proposals which are relevant for this project I'm working on right now. And I can then just search and find those chunks of data, chunks of proposals that are relevant for now. And I can then go into the proposal and I can really copy and paste information out here. And what I was curious to find is how our users use this, not only to find snippets to use, but to also find information. One of our big construction clients, they have a lot of project managers, and Marloes, one of our clients, she always found it hard to find who is responsible if we're working on project type XYZ. I have to, is it this guy or is this this lady? How do I find out? And now she just types in the type of project and she sees this name popping up 5 times, and it's like, that's what's relevant. And I think that's also for us. We're continuously building. Half of our team here in Amsterdam, we're almost with 50 people. Half of the team is really product related. So people that are continuously building out the product. And that's also what I think is one of our biggest strengths, is we continue to build the product, but through the lens of our user. So really asking those questions. We're actually in the middle of a research now where we go out in the market and really do interviews, in-depth interviews of what's the problems you're struggling, how is it changing with AI. And what we're focusing on more and more is the deep document analysis. That's something that we want to grasp better, and of course continuously improving those generative AI functions. Yeah, I think that gives a good overview of part of the platform. It's always a lot to grasp, but I think this is the most important pieces.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for that, Matthijs. There's a question that's come in which I think you've covered, but we'll just go for it anyway. So Rich has asked us, what's the geographic coverage Altura has? And I know you mentioned Europe. Is there anything more specific you can give us? Is there certain countries? Yeah.
Definitely. So currently we do everything on a national level in the UK, in the Netherlands and Belgium, and everything on a European level. So everything published on TED Europe. And Brilliant. That includes everything that is published on those platforms we pull in. So not just the metadata, but also all of the documents. And those documents are also updated whenever it's updated on the source platform.
Wonderful. Okay. There's one more question that's come through on WhatsApp. I don't know whether you can answer this or want to answer this. What new developments are on your roadmap that you can tell us about?
Yeah, definitely. So we're doing more on the proposal management. So really collaborating on I've showed the proposal writer. You can create text. You can ask colleagues to also work in that tool, but we really want to have a more collaborative space where you can have those discussions as well in Altura and really create the proposal from start to end. That's one. The rest is very focused on AI. So we want to make those workflows, for example, smarter. What can we learn from those? And now it's you create a workflow once and it's automated. How can we optimize it? Third thing is using insights more on specific. We have all this data. Can we give prompts? Can we show, hey, this opportunity is probably 80% scoring rate because it's similar to what you've done in the past? And finally, document analysis. We're taking big steps on document analysis part. We built a big retrieval augmented generation engine. That's our core architecture of our AI setup. And with that, we are just really good at analyzing documents. And we're building a lot of features around that in this coming year.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, wonderful. Just in the interest, we could talk about this for another hour at least, but just in the interest of trying to finish roughly on time, and I know you've got to get away after this. We'll just quickly touch on the 24/7 bid team, and this is something that Rob and I've reflected on. So for those people that don't know, Rob lives in Australia. What's been really good for us in BidVantage is that kind of naturally creates the ability for us to work 24/7. One of the things that Altura has bought is increase the capacity and ability we've got to be able to run this 24/7 working. Now, clearly, both of us are going to bed and having a social life outside of work, but it does make it easier. There's a whole load of stuff here, and Matthijs, I was writing furiously as you were talking through the demo there. But I think what really excites me about this is, and you touched on it in one of the early slides, is the ability to automate lots of manual processes that are fairly straightforward and don't need a huge amount of human input. So from my point of view, this just gives me more time to be able to put my brain in the right place. But I think just simple things like having those documents available on the opportunity. One of the banes of bid managers and bid writers' lives is seeing an opportunity, then having to register on a portal, then having to find the opportunity, then having to download the documents. They're there right at the start. And obviously it's not for every opportunity, but the fact that you've got a considerable amount of them is a massive improvement on where we've been in the past. But I think it's just simple things like that on the Kanban boards. I mean, one of the things that Rob and I have been kind of talking through over the last 6 months is, as BidVantage grows, how do we have the quality assurance processes in place that mean that we are assured every project that goes out the door for a client is at the right level? And because it's not Rob and I doing it all the time, So as bid directors, company owners, whatever level you're sitting at, if you've got a program of bids, I think what you've just demonstrated really gives me a level of comfort that I know every project I can see the workflows, I can see who's doing what, I can see if there's any issues and risks. That gives me so much comfort in a much wider program. And from a bid manager perspective, it's just knowing what you've got to do. So I know when I look at a workflow as a bid manager, I've got 7 tasks to do. It's not like I have to guess. So I think from that point of view, it's absolutely brilliant. Rob, before I take up all the time, is there anything you want to say on this?
Well, I'd say it's a great toy. It's not a toy. That really dumbs it down. But it's for you, Matt. It's a great bit of stuff to go with. I've actually enjoyed creating kind of a writing process in Altura of the specific tasks that I would need to do as a writer. Even basic things like I've got to read the documents, I've got to summarize documents, I've got to do X, Y, Z. And actually, I love a checklist like that, and that makes it really simple for me. That can, when we combine our flows, it can probably go into what you're creating as well and integrate that into the bid management flow. But it also means we've got a really good process for writers when we're using associates.
Yeah.
What I want to add, Matt, to what you're saying, and I also think that should be the key thing of leveraging AI. If I automate stuff, I can put my brain to the more important things. Me as what's the fun in the job of the bid manager? Those complex questions that we all have to answer, right? To really think about stuff. We don't want to send emails or set out tasks. No, let us automate those things, and let's really put value where value is due.
Yeah. No, I think this is where I see the real value in our partnership. But one of the other things that I thought was just a really useful observation, and it kind of just challenged my thinking a little bit, was when you talked about 80-20 strategy bid writing, and I saw Rob's eyebrow just raise a little bit. But actually, I think the more and more you explain that, I really like that concept of, when you review and refine, that's strategizing. And that's just an interesting take on how we see it, because, generally speaking, a review and a rewrite is the writing process, but actually the review is about where it sits in terms of strategy and the ultimate goal of winning. So I think, that's just an interesting observation for people listening, that it's the first time we've thought about that. And this is why, we clearly like to work with different people, because there's different perspectives, and that helps us to move along. I think overall, where we all want to get to is high success rates, and that's retention and new business. And I think this is one of the most exciting opportunities that we've got over the next sort of 3 to 5 years, is how this develops. And I think the final thing I'll just say on this is, the thing that I really like with Altura, and you touched on it again, Matthijs, is the size of your development team and how much sort of product focus you've got, and that moves things on really quickly. So, I think the message here would be, watch this space. There's going to be lots of developments, I guess, over the next probably few months and the years. So really exciting. Okay. Just in summary, I think, we've said this over the last year, AI is really changing the way we work and live. And we've already talked about how people embrace it in their personal lives. But I think it's gaining some real traction and momentum now. So it is going to be quick in terms of how things develop. We would still always go back to a combined AI human solution is better than both in isolation. We've seen people using AI on its own, and we've seen pure AI generated bids be submitted with no human input. And we've also seen humans working in isolation. And I think there's a real synergy between the two. I think that 24/7 bid team we've just talked about, the real kind of combination and the synergy sit within this middle ground here. There's all the efficient identification and qualification that Altura brings. There's the real world perspective that BidVantage bid professionals bring. And then, of course, this is where we all come together to produce the best bids. And it all goes back to this, which is the highest success rate, winning more. So I was hoping to finish on a nice little Euros football joke or quip today, but
I think we'll both get knocked out in the second round.
There's not that much to talk about, other than you will have guessed and Matthijs mentioned it, they're headquartered in Amsterdam. So the Netherlands are through, England are through. We won't talk any more about that in terms of performance.
And we just missed each other in the next game, right? We're almost set up.
I don't think it would have been a good game if we played each other.
No. So we'll leave that there. We won't get into any sticky ground there. There are a couple of things that are going on there if people are interested. Just because of the elections, there's not so many bigger bids coming out. It's a great time to prepare for September, when we can foresee a wave of tenders coming out. We've got some interesting things to help you in terms of review, training, and bid advice. There's the bid management maturity model, and there's a QR code there to scan, which will take you into Altura's resources. If you want to take advantage of those, feel free. And if you want any further information, you can get in touch with myself or with Heather, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. So, Matthijs, all that leaves for me to say is thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man. You're flying off somewhere today very shortly. So have a safe flight.
To London, to you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for the invitation. It was really fun to do.
Brilliant.
I really enjoyed the conversation.
No doubt. We'll speak to you soon. For everyone watching, thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.
Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.